I'm Mariana Portela, your storyteller, and this is Goddess, Witch, Woman, a Healing Stories podcast.
In the dark forest, there is a house. It spins, it stands on chicken legs. This house is always turning, but always facing the darkest part of the forest. It has no door unless you ask properly, unless you are ready, unless she wills it. This is her hut. She lives inside, or perhaps it lives around her. Stories say she flies in a mortar and pestle, eats children, steals teeth, has a mean cat. But stories don't tell you everything. She is as old as winter, wild as a blizzard, sharp as bone, and she is waiting for us. In old Slavic lands, they whispered her name, for she is really very dangerous to talk about. So I'm being careful, and so should you. In old Russia, if you take the road to the dark forest, or are most likely forced onto the road, then you will almost certainly encounter her. The grandmother of storms, the devourer who feeds, the guardian of the between. She will kill you, so you live better. She is a queen of the beneath. She is an initiation made of claws and questions and challenges. She's been called the witch, the crone, the wild hag, but she's not quite any of them. Or perhaps she's all of them at once. She is Baba Yaga. She flies, not on a broom, but uses her mortar and pestle, a churning, grinding, elemental tool. She will put you through it. She flies by crushing, by mixing, by transforming. She erases her tracks with a broom while she flies, and that way she's always leaving and always arriving. Her chicken-legged house is not just of timber. It has an awful lot of bone in its construction. It sits on vast, scaly chicken legs, and it turns and turns and turns like a swirling dervish. And her house is always turning but never facing you unless you speak the right words, unless you bow your head and lift your voice. Unless you show you are not just wandering around, you are also seeking for something. There's a fence around the house, and it is made of 12 poles stuck to the ground, and 11 of them have men's heads on, skulls. And on the 12th pole, there's nothing, it's empty. Maybe it's waiting for someone who is not ready. Fire, skull, mortar and pestle, broom, bones, spinning. Every item in her tale is a ritual, is magic, is a test, a symbol. In a lot of Baba Yaga tales, a young person is sent to her, always unwilling, always unprepared. In the tale Vasalisa the Beautiful, which was retold and renamed as Vasalisa the Wise by my beloved teacher Clarissa, Pinkola, Estés. In it, Vasalisa, she must work, labor, sort seeds from manure, clean the hut, remain silent, speak wisely, and survive the unspeakable. Dr. Estés walks us through each of these trials as symbolic steps in feminine initiation. So the story begins with Vasalisa's mother, who, knowing that she's about to die, gives her daughter a small doll, instructing her to feed it and listen to it whenever she is in need. And this doll represents the feminine intuition, ancestral, passed down from mothers and grandmothers, that deep inner voice that guides us through the unknown. And after her mother's death, Vasalisa is sent away by her cruel stepmother and stepsisters to fetch fire from Baba Yaga. And that is meant to kill her. On her journey through the forest, which is a classic threshold moment in fairy tales, Vasalisa encounters strange sights, and she sees 3 horsemen, white, red, and black, and they symbolize day, sun, and night. When she reaches Baba Yaga's hut, she must perform these impossible tasks, sorting poppy seeds from manure, good corn from bad corn, completing endless chores, and all the while she has to remain calm, silent, wise. And the doll helps her. Her intuition helps her. Her inner knowing helps her. In Dr. Estés' interpretation, these tasks symbolize discernment, self-discipline, and courage of the feminine psyche. Vasalisa does not rebel or fight. She serves, she listens, she trusts her inner guide. And for that, Baba Yaga does not devour her. Instead, she gives her a skull from her fence with fiery eyes inside, a light that Vasalisa carries home. It's her now new knowledge, and that light burns her false family to ashes, is a light that sees through lies, is a light that cannot be dimmed. She almost throws it away in the forest, but then the skull talks to her and she keeps it, this new knowing. And in this retelling, Vasalisa doesn't just survive, she becomes sovereign, transformed, bearing this flaming skull that burns through illusion and enlightens the next step on her true path. So Baba Yaga's wisdom is not offered freely, it is earned. Dr. Estés talks about her as an archetype of the wild woman, the one who teaches by stripping illusions, by setting you to task. She will kill your weaknesses, your illusions. She will burn away everything that does not serve you. She will gift you fire, if you're brave enough to carry it home. Baba Yaga is not a gentle grandmother. No, she's the one who says, do your work or die. However, Vasalisa does call her grandmother, and she's not afraid of her, because we're not dealing with supernatural fear. We are dealing with something deeper, much wilder than just plain fear. And to her, to Vasalisa, Baba Yaga is familiar. In other Baba Yaga tales, we see the same kind of testing ground. There's a tale called The Magic Swan Geese, and there's a girl who must rescue her brother from Baba Yaga's hut, but she succeeds only because she respects the living world, nature, so and other living creatures. So she offers bread to a tree. She is listening to animals. She cleans an oven. There's another story called Maria Morevna, and Baba Yaga appears in the story as a source of powerful and hidden knowledge. There's also the Frog Princess. I love that story. and brings motives of transformation, of cleverness, and trials to find a bride. That it brings themes of testing, of disguise and revelation. Oh my god, I sense a workshop on Baba Yaga's tales and symbolism coming soon, because there's so much to unpack on these tales. God has helped me with my ideas. But okay, let's talk Baba Yaga's origins. She is primordial. She is a startling form of the Great Mother. She is the Great Devourer. She is primal. And yet she is sophisticated. She's a sophisticated initiator. She will drag you into a scary, turbulent, but very educational descent. Some linguists will say that the Yaga part of her name may come from the Proto-Slavic word Ega, or the word Russian for Yaga, that means the old Russian word for Yaga, that means illness, horror, wrath. And that's a nod to that fearsome, unsettling presence that she brings. Other linguists trace the word Yaga to the Sanskrit, that means sacrifice or ritual, or the word Ajagara, that means serpent, the symbol of the goddess, and linking her to transformation or the chthonic. And the Baba part of her name means old woman or grandmother in Slavic tongues, but it also carries, layers of meaning that are connected to initiatory figures like midwives, or even ogresses in some stories, the witch, the Baba. Some mythologists, they claim that we are in her universe, and that she represents not just a person, but a cosmic force of time and death and wild wisdom. I just love her. In Russia, they say that she was once a sky deity, the embodiment of a terrible winter storm, a broom that swept away the blizzard. And as she hurtles through the darkness with the broom, she's a nightmare. Some scholars link her to Persephone, because she goes into the underworld, and some have described her as this blood-drinking goddess, and say that her breasts lactate rain. She is seen as this death aspect of the Great Mother archetype. There are some stories that say she is a small, dark woman with long teeth jutting out of her mouth like a wild boar, and that there is a blood foam that continuously pours from her mouth. So she's closer to animals than humans. And later it was said that she wasn't a storm at all, but the spit of the devil in the cauldron from which he created all witches. I love that. That she has pitiless holes instead of eyes, a snakeskin coat, and little horns on her forehead, greasy nose hair that falls down to her rain-lactating breasts, and also that she has a crazy sex drive. They say that she sneaks into the beds of sleeping children and steals their baby teeth, leaving behind just stubs of iron that she hammers into their gums like nails in wood. Super scary. And yet, she's also the one who watches over the women who spin, the hands that weave. She is a keeper of rhythms and cycles, of rituals. She she tends to the thread between life and death. They say that she has been called to the birthbed and to the last breath, midwife of the in-between. Wild. She's ambiguous, terrifying. I find her deeply necessary, especially in this world that does not worship any aspect of femininity that is not clean and smooth and cordial. Some stories say that she was once a storm cloud, thick and thundering, giving life in summer and snatching it back in winter. I love that image because it's something wild, something uncontainable, something that gives life, nourishes, and also destroys it, keeps it to itself. Because Baba Yaga, she's not here to comfort you. She's here to teach you the difference. She is the great devourer, and what she really delights in from humans is a witty, inventive answer to whatever she may ask you. So if you just stand there with open arms and declare that I'm the special one, I am the chosen one, she will just gobble you up and crunch you down in seconds. Any response that does not give her intelligence, wit, it will get you shoveled down her primordial throat and gut. So an audience with Yaga is a privilege. She will force you to differentiate very quickly. And that's what we see in Vasalisa's story. The work she has to complete, washing the clothes, sweeping the backyard, cooking, those are alchemical tasks. They are transformative in our psyche. So we have to be clean. We have to nourish ourselves. We have to sweep away what does not serve our best interests. And you learn to distinguish right there on the spot. Vasalisa has to separate the good corn from the bad corn, the poppy seeds from the manure, and then the mold from the bad corn and also the manure. They are transformed into powdered gold and rich medicine by these celestial or alchemical hands that appear in Baba Yaga's house. So that is Yaga's role in our psyche, in the depth of our lives. And just as she teaches us to separate the good from the bad and transform the bad, the sacred from the profane, she also reminds us of the patterns that govern the world. So in some versions of Vasalisa's tale, she finds 3 mysterious horsemen that appear very near the hut of Baba Yaga, one white, one red, one black. And Baba Yaga reveals later that they are her day, her sun, and her night. So she commands time and seasons and cycles. In other stories, there are not 1, but 3 Baba Yagas, sister Yagas. So aspects, perhaps a nod to the triple goddess archetype, even though that is a more modern concept. But the 3 Baba Yagas are a reminder that initiation is not a one-time thing. That is why we have things happen in 3 in fairy tales, and sometimes in 7s. So there is a Baba Yaga tale where a young girl is sent to her and she survives, this time not through labor, but through kindness. She feeds the cat, she oils the squeaky gate, she offers ribbons to Baba Yaga's servants that live in the house, and all of these creatures later help her escape Baba Yaga. And later, her rude stepsister, does the opposite, and that she's eaten. So Baba Yaga responds not just to tasks, but also to the character of a person. And I think the most chilling part of all of the elements in her tales is her oven. She has a big oven where she places the people who are unworthy. Some folklorists suggest that in old rural Russia, newborns were sometimes placed in warm ovens to strengthen them after they were born. But I think this is more symbolic than really historically verified. But we could say that the Baba Yaga's oven might be kind of a distorted memory of birth. Who knows? But it's a strong image, and I like it. And when we talk about our soul, so soul-wise, an encounter with Yaga reveals messages on the stones when we find ourselves in a rock bottom. And the messages she leaves us are coded, and they are not to coddle us or to cheer us up. They do not offer an escape route from rock bottom. Baba Yaga's messages for us are a confirmation that you, even now, in the darkest hour, have not fallen out of your own story. That's her role. And that your story has to include even this, even the slimy, dark parts. These most horrible truths. These messages can walk us through hell. She shows us terrible death so we can see our lives as magnificent. And where do we find her? Baba Yaga does not live only in the forest anymore. No, we've brought her to more urban landscapes as well. I think of her as balanced on a pin between the oldest world and the newest world. She has become a meme, a video game character, a letter correspondent, and then myth again. She is a feminist icon. She is our beloved Slavic death grandma. She is a chaos witch. She is an archetype. A lot of artists paint her with bright lips and ragged teeth, but I'm sure there are grandmothers who are still warning their grandchildren not to cross her. And deeper than all of that, she remains the same. She's wilder than we could ever hope to describe or understand. This is a feeble attempt at it. And she's the one who asks you impossible questions, the one who watches you labor for her, who waits to see whether your answer is good enough not to be eaten. Baba Yaga is also what we fear most in older women. We fear their power, their strangeness, their clarity, rage, freedom. She's an old woman who has no patience for those who have not walked through the fire. But again, paradoxically and ambiguously, she gives the brave, the heroes and heroines what they came for. And to the foolish, well, you will find her stirring the pieces in the pot, sucking on their bones, and their head are on the last spot on her fence. So she has no time for fools. I once told the Vasalisa story to a group of 7-year-olds, and I asked them at the end, is Baba Yaga good or bad? And they answered very excitedly, most of them all at once, she's both, she's bad and she's good. And 7-year-olds could see the truth that Baba Yaga is not a villain. She is a passage, she is a task, she makes you walk through fire. And if you pass her challenges, if you sweep her floors, if you sort her seeds, if you answer with wit and humility, she may send you home with a glowing skull, burning just enough to light your way in the dark. And in her name, and wisdom, that fire will scorch everything that keeps you small. So this was my attempt to honor Baba Yaga, beloved, fearsome, wonderful death grandma. There are many witches, many crones, many monstrous women in stories. Stay with me and we will meet them, a lot of them. I thank you for listening, and let me know when you find Baba Yaga. She may bless you with her fire.
I'm Mariana Portela, and you've listened to Goddess, Witch, Woman, a Healing Stories podcast.